What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm BLAIDEN Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time in Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. Today, of course, we are going to recap and review some of the games from Week 7. And remember, if we haven't talked about any of your teams, or if you want to ask us some questions, make sure you hop in to our YouTube live stream tomorrow, where we will talk about all of those things. So make sure you turn on the notifications on YouTube so you can be aware of when that'll happen, but it'll be roughly 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also make sure you guys go and download the AMP app and follow Stay Hot and listen to us chat every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, talking everything NBA, NFL, music, pop culture, whatever. We're just shooting the shit. It's a fun time. Make sure you hop in. But before we get into the NFL, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today? Actually, let me guess. Bad.
Can we just talk about the NBA today? I don't want to talk about the NFL anymore. The season is over.
So the season is over.
So the season is over. I just want. Can we talk about
Theo,
Devin Vassell or something?
This isn't like you. I've never seen you this upset about the Packers before. Even when they lost to San Francisco, you weren't this upset, and that was a disaster.
That was a disaster.
That's because he locked them. He put his faith in them this week, and they let him down.
They did let you down.
I don't want to talk too much about Green Bay because you can listen to our old podcasts on previous Sundays, and the problems are all still the same. They're still the worst run defense in football, and their wide receivers are still ass. Luckily, Quentin Johnson from TCU will save us next year, and
he does not go to Ohio State.
He doesn't go to Ohio State. Maybe it'll be Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't care who it's going to be. Just get the Packers a wide receiver,
be worse
please.
Than what it is now.
You know, Antonio Brown's available.
That was a depressing game. That was an extremely depressing game. Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry, Theo.
Boy.
Well, Matt, let's shift the focus away from Theo so he can take a bit of a breather.
Please shift the focus.
Christian McCaffrey got traded this week to the 49ers. And it seems like the Panthers are better.
Robbery.
Seems like the Panthers are better without him. Panthers are better without him.
Stupid trade for the 49ers. 4 picks for a running back in 2022. Dumb. And he's injury prone.
And not only 4 picks for a running back in 2022, a 3rd-round pick last year on Davis Price, a 3rd-round pick on, who knows who else. Elijah Mitchell was perfectly fine last year. Jeff Wilson was on pace for like 1,500 rushing yards this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know what they're thinking. That's not their problem. You don't need another running back. And at first I was like, I get that a little bit for the 49ers because nope, it doesn't make sense. Sorry. And the Panthers go, and what happened to their rushing attack? Losing this running back who is worth so much that they need like a 1st-round value for him. Nothing. They ran the ball great. And they could sign guys off the street who could, if you have a good offensive line that's opening up holes, you will, like Chuba Hubbard's, it's not good, dude. There's very few running backs you're like, this guy's like not good, dude. He is, well, he had a good game today though, because the Panthers offensive line, as far as run blocking goes, is actually pretty good. So I'm very happy with what the Panthers have done. They've added a lot of picks. I'm a little bit frustrated because I don't think they're going to get the number 1 overall pick, and I don't think they're going to be able to get the quarterback that they need. But I can talk myself into corral, and I will. So that's my game plan.
And I'll help you. I will help talk you into corral. Now, I do have to ask, where do you think the 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns that they turned down, where do you think that came from?
Eagles.
You think so?
I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles offered too. Maybe Kansas City. I would have taken it, but I also think that tweet you made. No, you know that's baloney. That's hooey. Oh, they could have traded for.
For those of you who don't know, it's my tweet that said the Panthers had a disaster class because they turned down a trade that could have netted them enough value to take Will Anderson if they were to trade their picks.
You made this up. I don't know.
My source is that I made it up.
You made it. No sources. You made this up, and then the Packers lost. I think that's karma. That's what I think. I hate to say it, but I would have taken the deal. I think that Brian, although he had a great game today, this is so hard to tell.
I don't care when it comes, man. 2 first-round picks, you take that for Brian Burns, okay?
Especially when they're going to have to give him like Myles Garrett money because they just said no to 2 first-round picks. Yeah, it's not good.
Brian Burns is a nice player. All right, he had a nice game.
He's very good.
He's good with he can sync up his hands and his feet. He's got a lot of burst off the line. He's got bend. He can get to the quarterback, man. Like, he's not a bad player. But there is an element of power and run support and bull rush that I think is missing from his game that prevents me from putting him in that upper echelon of edge rushers to me. Mm-hmm. And if you can get 2 first-round picks for a guy who's not maybe a top tier, he'd be a really great number 2, and he's like a solid number 1, I think, as an edge rusher. But to me, like, first round picks, like that top 32 talent on cheap deals, like, give me that, man. And especially when you're rebuilding. And I'm not someone who thought the Panthers needed to completely blow it up and trade McCaffrey and trade Brian Burns and trade DJ Moore. When you draft Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or Will Levis or whoever it is, I don't know, you want them to have talent around them. Otherwise, they're just going to end up like Justin Fields, who has had like 2 good games in his career thus far because he doesn't have any talent around him. You want some talent around these guys. But when teams are offering you 4 picks for Christian McCaffrey, 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns, to me, you say yes to those. But, you know, they kept their nucleus together in terms of the defense. It looked good today. It paid off today. They can replace Christian McCaffrey pretty easily because he's a running back. They're not going to move DJ Moore, who played fantastically today. And I think the Panthers can, even without the 2 extra first-round picks that they hypothetically turned down for Brian Burns, mm-hmm. You know, I like what they've been doing. You know, they if you're going to blow it up, trade the running back. Don't trade the receiver. Don't trade the edge rusher. Get a lot of value get first round value for the running back. I get that they didn't get a first round pick, but they got a bunch of other picks that you could probably trade all in all for a first round pick. Yeah, I like what they've been doing. And I do like Bryce Young. I don't like CJ Stroud quite as much. There's a whole YouTube video from me on it. But I do think that if the supporting cast around Stroud is good enough, I think he can play well in the NFL as well. So I think that the Panthers are in a decent spot right now as far as that trade goes. And as far as the 49ers go, like, yes, they're versatile. Everyone can do everything. Like, it's fun once Christian McCaffrey gets more playing time and more familiar with the offense, but it's wholly irresponsible. Yeah. It's not a responsible allocation of resources, just how many
to me it felt like it felt like a very eager move to try and go all in and win right now, and it just felt completely unnecessary. It felt desperate. Like you didn't need to do that, and you didn't need to do it now. You trade any of those picks that you traded away, you could have used all of them to draft running backs, and the collection of those running backs would have been a better allocation of resources.
Just sign a guy in free agency. Good Lord, how many day 2 picks are they going to burn? And it's like it's not like the running backs are terrible. It's like, and they're just obsessed with like injury prone running backs. And it's
like, who have their best running backs been? It's not been these 3rd round picks in Tyrion Davis Price that they've taken. It's not what's his name? Joe Williams, the running back out of Utah that they spent a 4th round pick on. They cut him in free agency. Who is the guy they drafted last year? What was it? Trey Sermon, 3rd round pick. He's not the guy that he's cut. Who's been contributing for them is before he got hurt, it was I'm so bad with names Mitchell. And it's coming out. Elijah Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
Like he was like a 6th round, he was a day 3 pick. You know, like they were fine at that position. So, like, this is reminiscent of what the Rams did last year, and the Rams won the Super Bowl. They traded about this type of value for Von Miller, but Von Miller is an edge rusher. Von Miller just has more value, and it's just harder to find great edge rushers than it is to find like good running backs. So, like, it's irresponsible. It's fun. And once he gets he's learned to this very complicated, he's had 3 days to learn this very complicated playbook. Today, when they lost big to the Chiefs, is not the end all be all. It's not going to be like this all year for him, but it's irresponsible. And that's the word I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Maybe it works out in a week NFC, I'll be eating crow if they win the Super Bowl and McCaffrey's a key contributor, because if you do that, it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. But if I don't think they will. And if they don't, it's irresponsible. I think it's safe to say that I spend more time than the average person watching and breaking down film. I mean, sometimes I'll stay up all night breaking down every little aspect of a quarterback's throwing mechanics. With that being said, sometimes I need a solid cup of joe to keep me going all through the night. Let me tell you about Trade Coffee. It's a coffee subscription service unlike anything you've tried before, because they partner with the top independent roasters to freshly roast and send the best coffees in the country direct to your home on your preferred schedule. The coffee I get from Trade is so good, I can't believe how much I like what they pick for me. And their team actually worked with us to create our own custom collection, which is great for me because I don't have to settle with any just average cup of joe when I'm late in those film sessions. If you're like me and want your coffee to taste like a perfectly thrown goal line fade, go check out my collection at Trade. And if what I got isn't up your alley, don't worry. Trade will have whatever it is you want. You can shop their most popular coffees by roast or flavor profile, or you can take their coffee quiz and get expertly matched with coffees you'll love. You got nothing to lose because Trade guarantees you will love your first bag. If not, they'll work with you to replace it for free. So if you want to support small businesses and brew the best cup of coffee you've ever made at home, it's time to try Trade Coffee. Right now, Trade is offering our listeners a total of $30 off your first order, plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/stayhot. That's drinktrade.com/stayhot, one word, for $30 off your first subscription to the best coffees in the country.
But it does seem as though it worked out for the Panthers. They were able to beat the Bucs today. And when you look at the Bucs, you have to be at least mildly concerned.
Mildly concerned? They don't got it, man. Sorry. Here's their whole problem is real simple. Brady is a good quarterback, but his flaw is that he cannot extend a play at all, whatsoever. The play is the play. He is one of the least mobile quarterbacks ever at this point. And his workaround is that he's very good at getting the ball off quickly and taking the check down and all that stuff. And that's great, unless your offensive line really sucks. And then you have to do that over and over and over. And also, you can't run the ball. 2nd and 1, 3 runs in a row, nothing, turnover on downs. It also doesn't help when, Mike Evans has a Three Stooges drop for a walk-in touchdown while Dante Jackson is rolling around on the ground 40 yards back, who is unbelievably bad. This is one of the worst corners that is getting serious playing time, and they extended him. Truly makes no sense. But no, I think Tampa is fully. I just don't see the path to their offensive line becoming competitive. And now, the NFC South is the worst division. It's miserably bad.
Yeah, Blaine, and I think I owe you an apology for saying this division isn't wide open at the.
It's okay
because it
was a little premature. It was a little premature.
The Panthers are a game out from the lead. And this is a team that they were asking 2 days ago if they were seriously trying to even win any games. Are you tanking? We're a game out from the division and 2-0 in the division. I think we see it.
It's the Falcons. And
yes, the Falcons 3 and 4 are tied for first place.
The Falcons who allowed Burrow to have 375 yards at halftime. This was a Joe Burrow masterclass. If we want to pivot to that game real quick, this is I get it was against backups and AJ Terrell pulled up lame with the hamstring, and it's reminiscent of the Ravens game last year where he put up 525 yards or something like that on a backup. But sometimes a game like that is what you need to build confidence and what you need to get into a rhythm. And you can just almost be on playground mode, creative mode, and find out what works and get a little bit of a flow going. this seemed like that kind of game for the Bengals offense. Like the whole shot, or not the whole shot. Yeah, I guess it kind of was a whole shot. They had the safety over the top of Chase on that deep touchdown on the go ball to him. T. Higgins was one-on-one on the other side. Burrow went to Chase anyway, even though he was doubled. Touchdown, perfectly placed ball. There was a play where the middle linebacker was roboting to Tyler Boyd in the slot, crossing the middle of the field. Boyd had an inch of separation. Burrow fired it in there. One-handed catch. Richie Grant fell down. There was the 60-yard touchdown. There was the back shoulder to Chase, and then Chase took it like 40 more yards to the touchdown. Like, I haven't looked at what Burrow's EPA per play was in this game yet, which is sort of irresponsible. I can make up a number, and it's probably true. 3 points, 3 expected points added every time that he took the ball to throw. Like, it was probably something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Like, they got right. This offense has struggled so far. It hasn't been what we expected. They got right versus the Falcons. And, like, we'll see if it carries over for the rest of this game. But, yeah, that was pretty impressive. I don't care who it's against. If you can throw that many yards and that many touchdowns, like, there's plenty of bad secondaries in the league that teams don't do that too.
Right.
The Packers are an example with Washington's secondary.
Yeah, the Packers.
They didn't do anything close to that, you know. But yeah, that was crazy. So we'll see if the Panthers can rebound in this NFC South. But
Matt,
yeah,
I think it's
a pretty miserable
mentioned
division.
Matt, I think you've mentioned before that you think Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the NFL.
I was just talking. He's up there, though. He is tier 1. I mean, he is awesome. And if I were Joe Burrow, I'd throw to him 20 times a game. But is he better than like Tyreek Hill? No. But
he's making his case. He's making his case, right? Like,
it's the Cincinnati water getting to me, I'm afraid. So when I tweeted that, you guys know sometimes, I feel like there's so much pressure on Twitter. It's like, let me make sure I never give a take that's too of, like, I don't want to overreact. No, I don't. So I'm going to say, whatever. Who cares?
No, he's up there, man. He's up there. Him and T. Higgins both. They're both crazy. T. Higgins
is top 10. And Tyler Boyd are quite the duo, I say.
Yeah. It's
he said Jamar. God damn.
Well, you
Clemson almost lost. Clemson was. If I had not tweeted, that's on me. I shouldn't have tweeted anything.
Oh man, we don't want to hear that.
Oh man, yeah. Clemson stormed the field against Syracuse. So did they really win? That was pretty pathetic. But
what happened to men?
What happened? Truly,
what happened to men? But yeah, the Bucs
are storm the field when you beat a team ranked below you. Couldn't be me.
All I'm saying is the ranked Gamecocks are looking like they're going to be quite the challenge. I think Spencer Rattler has one last master class in him, and he's saving it.
Not better than Bo Nix, I fear.
Bo Nix.
Saving it for when he's on the Green Bay Packers next year, taking over for 2 scrub quarterbacks. But anyway, let's keep it on track.
Well, yeah, let's keep rolling. We can stay in the NFC, talk about Cowboys versus Lions. And I want to start this conversation off with Dan Campbell. At some point, like, he can't just be like the fun, everyone loves him type of coach. At some point, they have to start winning games. In the second half, every single drive ended in a turnover. One ended in a punt, but every drive pretty much ended in a turnover for the Lions. At what point is Dan Campbell on the hot seat right now? And if not,
no.
Like, at what point do you think he is?
Nope.
I think next year's, like I've said this before, but next year is the season for the Lions. They were number 1 in points through the first 5 weeks of the season or so, 4 weeks of the season, the first quarter of the season or so. But it's Jared Goff, man. Jared Goff is not a good quarterback. They got him for part of the reason they got as many first-round picks as they did in that Stafford trade is because they took on Jared Goff's contract. He was not an active asset in that. He was like, okay, we'll give you this extra first if you take on Jared Goff's contract. He's just not a very good quarterback. He's not. And their defense, they're 31st in spending. They haven't allocated resources to that side of the ball outside of Aiden Hutchinson, really, and Jeff Okudah. Outside of that, it's like no one's getting paid. So
right.
I think next year where they have so much cap room next year, they've got another 2 first-round picks. They've got another first-round pick, Jameson Williams, coming back. Like, shit, like, yes, it would be nice if they had a winning record right now, if they were 500 right now. It would be nice. But I think you've got to give this rebuild a little bit more time. It's premature to fire anybody. It's premature to abandon everything. They don't have a good quarterback. They haven't invested in the defense the way they're meant to yet. So I think next year, if Dan Campbell can't pull it together next year, if they're 1-7, if they're 2-7 next year, then it's time to have this conversation. But like right now, given the talent that he has, like, yes, there's pieces on this offense that are good, but it's not a team that's ready to contend. And I think Hard Knocks and his general kind of vibe and all the hype that surrounded Dan Campbell just kind of tricked people into thinking, oh, they might be ready, but they're not. They're still a year out. And I like, maybe Dan Campbell will never evolve past the fun coach. Like there's a good chance that that's true. But right now, I still think that they're doing, I don't know, they're doing an okay job considering what they've got. I think like it's not like they haven't been in any of these games. It's not like they look like the absolute worst team. I don't know. That's grasping at straws, I guess. But I still think their defense has been bad, and I still think that you need to give this rebuild another year before you start abandoning the core that you've got, coaching staff included. That's my take on it.
I guess that's valid. I just look at like last year they were in a lot of winnable games, and a lot of people look at that as like, oh, well, you know, mentally they can just figure that out and like win those close games this year. And that just hasn't happened. All of their close games, same thing. They're just losing them all again. And then, you know, they were in this Cowboys game till like 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. It was a 1-possession game, and then they just fell apart. And I don't know.
They just need a quarterback. Like I agree. You're not firing them year 2 when the roster isn't there yet. They got one more offseason. They got 2 first-round draft picks. You don't really, I know it's disappointing. You don't really want to go win 7 games. You don't want to do that at all. You want to have the first overall pick and choose your quarterback. I promise you, it is infinitely more important than any sort of like culture win for them. It is more important to have a good quarterback for the culture of the team than it is to go and like beat the Cowboys and then not make the playoffs.
Or
who cares?
Beat the Buccaneers and not make the
right. And you look at the talent development on this team, it's like, which one of the first of the high overall picks has been a complete disappointment? Like Aiden Hutchinson, I think that he had been suspect before today, but this week he was working more with the outside linebackers. He was rushing more from a 2-point upright stance like he was doing in college. His hand was out of the dirt, and he had some real wins today. He had a spin move, and that resulted in a sack on Terrence Steele. And then on the other side, he just swiped and dipped and ripped around Tyler Smith on the other side, one around the edge, and had a sack on Dak Prescott that way as well. So those were 2 real wins for Aiden Hutchinson, which we hadn't really seen up to this point. And that's what you like to see from him. That's good development. Okudah, real development. Penei Sewell, they drafted in high. He's been what he's been billed as. Okay, so it's not like these high round picks have been. It's not like the development has stagnated. It's not like their talent is just flopping left and right. There's a reason to believe that this staff can develop players, and you would love if Alan McNeil was better, or Levi Onwuzurike was a Pro Bowler or whatever. Like it's not a perfect track record, but Rodriguez, the linebacker, he's been pretty good for them. Like they've been developing talent to a certain extent this year. It's just. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like they've developed him. The last year's draft was pretty productive. DeAndre Swift, when he's played, I mean, last year he was incredibly inefficient, but like when he's been healthy this year, all of a sudden he's averaging like 8 yards per attempt, and we'll see if that holds up once he comes back healthy. But I can almost assure you that he's not going to be the least efficient running back in the league anymore. So you've seen some of their young players take strides, and they've got, young talent that is promising on this roster. I'm not too concerned. And as far as the Cowboys go, I thought Dak looked all right today. Maybe not like crazy special, but they were really airing it out. And I thought they were moving the ball through the air, and there were some high level throws that I don't think Cooper Rush could pull off. And there was a fumble by Noah Brown in the red zone and things like that. But overall, they had a 61% success rate through the air. The Cowboys did, and that's despite like Dak Prescott having a crazy high average depth of target. Like there were multiple plays that I was like, damn, that was a crazy. He was being super aggressive, and overall that was paying off. They were actually moving the ball through the air. So it was a solid performance from it was a solid performance from the Cowboys offense. It was a solid performance from the Lions defense. Like, I don't think this game was a reason to like totally give up on everybody. It's just Cowboys are good.
The Cowboys are good. Their defense is really nice. That's a defense that you expect to force a lot of turnovers. Trayvon Diggs, led the league in interceptions last year. Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in all of football. So that's a defense that you absolutely expect to make a lot of turnovers. And, it was good to see Dak back and playing well. How much time do you think you spend looking at a screen? Because me personally, between my phone, my laptop, my 2 monitors, my TV, my iPad, I can pretty confidently say that I spend nearly half, if not more, of my day on an electronic device. And the truth is, whether it's working on your computer, watching TikToks before bed, that amount of blue light exposure can be severely damaging to your eyes. And studies have shown that exposure to blue light from these devices can lead to headaches, eye fatigue, blurry vision, and even trouble sleeping. But worry not, I'm happy to say that our friends over at Felix Gray can help. Their blue light glasses filter 15 times more blue light that can make screen time tough on eyes and disruptive to sleep. I'm still not convinced? What if I told you that wearing these glasses could instantly get you looking drippy, just like me? Look, I got a pair of mine on right now, and they look sick. I always get compliments on them because they just fit my face so well, and Felix Gray just does a great job of framing glasses perfectly to your face. So, if you want the best prescription or non-prescription blue light glasses on the market, use our URL, felixgrayglasses.com/stayhot. Again, that's felixgrayglasses.com/stayhot. Free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. felixgrayglasses.com/stayhot. You mentioned Dak had a very high average depth of target. You know who did not have a very high average depth of target today? Matt, you know who it is.
Who?
You know who.
Blaiden, I don't. Are we? What are we alluding back to?
A lot of quarterback.
Justin Herbert.
Oh, Bustin Sherbert. Yes, he's no good out here. Don't say that about him. Stop it. No, I'm messing with the Herbert stuff. Obviously, I would do this bit of saying that Herbert's, because it's so funny, because it's like, it's just, he's so good and it's just not quite panning out the way that it should be for him as of right now. And it's like, no guys, I swear, I know he's 4-3, but he's so good. But with him, it's like, dude, it's the same shit. Their weapons stink. They have invested an unbelievable amount. And I understand Mike Williams got hurt. They've just invested all this money. It's like into Eckler, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen, and those guys like just do not create explosive plays at the rate that your picture just fell off the wall.
It's a resemblance of the Cleveland Browns.
It's some sort of allegory.
Season's over officially.
But with the Chargers, it's just like their offense has no juice, and this is what we've really learned this season is like. You have to have the receivers. The receivers at the end of the day have to win they're in their own right to create the explosive offense. Having a great quarterback, it ain't enough. Like Rodgers is just doomed because his receivers aren't good enough. Herbert, obviously, to a much, much lesser extent. But that offense is not what it should be. And then you look at a guy like Tua, who honestly has been playing pretty solid. But regardless, that offense is cooking because they've got guys who can create explosives. When Pro Football Focus, I hate to say this one, the analytics and the Pro Football Focus say that wide receivers are like the second most important position.
They're right.
They're right. Here's the thing about receivers and the place where I always come, like, I always have mixed feelings about this is like, I think it's clear you look at, you know, what Tyreek Hill has done for the Dolphins this year and how the Packers have struggled without Devontae. Like, yes, having a guy who can just get 40 yards just like that, someone who has great timing, great rhythm with the quarterback, who can like effortlessly create 10 yards on a dig or whatever with his route running. Like, that is extremely important. My question is just like, well, how many of those guys are out there? Because to me, it's kind of a lot. And I think like every offense should have at least two, which you can't really say for edge rushers. You can't really say for tackles. You can't really say for corners. You can't really say for safe. Like, there just aren't, you know, it shouldn't be the expectation that every offense has like two, or defense has like two really good guys at those positions. But how many years in a row have we seen the draft have a bunch of high-level wide receivers? It's been like since 2014, since the Mike Evans Odell year. It seems like there's been like wide receivers on wide receivers every single time. So it's like wide receivers are extremely valuable, but at the same time, I do think that they're somewhat easy to find. And right now, Olave is having a good rookie year. Drake London has looked good as a rookie. Garrett Wilson, if he had a good quarterback, I'm convinced he would look good right now. Like, I legitimately think they're easy to find. That's my always like back at, like, yes, they're extremely valuable, but in terms of supply and demand, I do think the supply is high. But the Packers, they are just like, we will not select quarterbacks or wide receivers in the first round. We will not make an effort to find, even though the supply is high, we will not make an effort to find guys like that we'll draft Christian Watson in the second round, which is one of the few wide receivers I said doesn't have it, and he's been hurt and ineffective since he's been drafted. But you're right, Matt. Like, Herbert's weapons are overrated, and I sincerely believe that Herbert is a good quarterback, despite what people may say looking at the box score and whatnot. But like, man, his wide receivers are slow. That's all I got to say. And you got his offensive lineman injured, and you know, he could definitely play a little bit better, but Joe Lombardi and the slow weapons who can't create much separation at this point in their career, or, you know, Keenan Allen, who has been hurt, and, you know, the tackle situation is a little rough following Slater's injury. Although I think that Slayer, however you pronounce it, is filled in all right. He's been a nice find. He's better than Storm Norton, to be sure, but it's just tough when I don't think you have a elite weapon on the outside on top of questionable play calling, which is what I think Herbert's got right now. Plus, we're in a season where they're not letting you get the 40-yard bomb anymore. They're not letting you get that. Like, the too high shells have kind of taken that away they're making you nickel and dime up the field, and they just don't have Mike Williams is a receiver built to get that 40-yard reception down the field. Right. He's a wide receiver built to box someone out and make that big play down the field, right? He's kind of a deep threat. He's kind of a contested catch guy up the sideline. And like, that's an area where like Keenan Allen could excel, but he's been hurt and limited since the first week of the season. So,
and even when he's healthy, he's slow.
Yes.
He's not doing anything after the catch. You might get a hole shot with him. You might get something behind the linebackers in a cover 3. But like, you're not getting anything after the catch with. And
that's the thing. People will say like, "Oh, stop making excuses for this guy, Rodgers, Herbert, whoever you may say. Stop making excuses. Stop making excuses." Like, but it's the truth, man. Like, Herbert put up 5,000 yards last year and like 35 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers did not forget how to play quarterback this offseason. All right, it's not like all of a sudden he just became horrible. If he had Devontae Adams and a healthy Bakhtiari, like, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. Right. Yeah. I just don't think a lot of quarterback stats are also wide receiver stats.
If the offensive line was better in Tampa, Bucs offense would probably be a little bit better.
And if the play calling was better in Cincinnati, I think like Burrow could be in the MVP conversation. You know, it's just like everything is connected to each other, and everyone has an excuse when the players around them aren't elite. You know, like I think Mahomes could be so much better if his tackles were better. You know, and Mahomes is fantastic right now. He's like the best quarterback in football. Him and Josh Allen.
Same thing with Jacoby Brissett, man. If the tackles, if Jed Wells was.
We'll see. But like, I know that people always want to make it like, oh, the quarterback failed to do this and that and whatnot. And to some extent, like, yes, Herbert was not perfect, but the biggest problem is I just don't think they have a weapon with a whole lot of game breaking ability right now. And I think that's kind of what's sinking the Chargers a little bit. And the fact that JC Jackson, who looked like he may have torn his ACL and wasn't doing too hot even before that, you know, they don't have a number one corner even still who can hold up.
A lot of money. A lot of money on players who are not good or not winning them games, unfortunately. But in this week, NFL, they're going to end up being in the playoffs anyway. Yeah. NFL, it's a lot of bad football being played. Tom Brady, unfortunately, I have to agree with. It's a lot of pitifulness. Not my GOAT. Tom Brady, not my GOAT. I mean, he is the GOAT, but not my GOAT.
I do want to bring up some stats around Justin Herbert throwing the ball downfield because the Chargers just don't do it. I mean, he had 51 pass attempts today, and only 18 of them were past 10 yards.
I feel like that's not that bad. I don't know.
Well, last year he was like pretty average, even though the offense was so good. I mean, throws down the field. It's not like they were a prolific.
Okay, let me be more specific. Let me be more specific then.
A better offense.
At halftime, Herbert was 2 for 9 with 36 yards and an interception, throwing past the 10-yard mark.
He's bad.
And he ended the game 5 for 18, 91 yards, and a pick, throwing past the 10-yard mark. Everything else was within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, either 10 yards behind or 10 yards in front of.
You know who I want to talk about?
Yeah.
Kenneth
do you want to talk
Walker.
About?
Anyone with eyes could have seen that Kenneth Walker was going to be super sick. Now, if the 49ers wanted like an elite running back, this is the most obvious position ever, okay? Any human being can scout and find a great running back. This is what is so mind-boggling about what the 49ers have done. If the guy has good contact balance, if they hit him and he doesn't fall over, and then he also runs fast and gets fast very quickly, he is going to be great. Kenneth Walker is unbelievable. And of course, the Chargers' run defense is terrible. It's no good. Again.
Yes.
So he's one of my favorites. He's gonna be very good for a very long time.
Yeah, what did he have today? Was it like 160 yards, something like that?
Pushing 170 with 2 touchdowns.
Good player. About running backs. And this running back class, like the 3 that I think I talked about the most, 2 guys that I had in my top half of the first round in terms of like my big board, not because they're running backs. I didn't think they should be taken in like the top 15, but Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker were as talented as anybody in this class. And like I was a little bit late to the party on Dameon Pierce in terms of scouting him, but this preseason, I thought it was pretty clear that he was him as well. And yeah, those 3 have been incredible this far. Meanwhile, Isaiah Spiller has been like mid because when you watched him, he kept trying to bounce everything outside all the time and like was consistently kind of bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just not hard to find these guys. It's not a difficult position to scout. I agree. But yeah, he's fantastic. Another pretty solid game from Geno and the Seahawks offense here. And what are they? Are they first in this division right now?
First in the NFC West. Yeah, they're 4-3. First in the NFC West. I mean, listen, we've talked about, their defense isn't very good, right? But they held the Cardinals to 9. They did a pretty good job of limiting any explosives from the Chargers. Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like their defense really isn't that bad.
One of the most underrated players in the league is coming back soon, Trey Brown, who is a very good rookie corner for them last season before getting hurt.
Shit, they don't
He's coming back in a couple weeks. I think that's an underrated storyline that no one is really aware of because he didn't just play in a huge sample size of games last year. But Trey Brown, the Seahawks corner, is a legit piece as well. And with him coming back, and the defensive back room growing every single week, this Seahawks team, like, why can't they win this division, man? Like, why can't they win this division? This Cardinals are terrible. I know that they won last week, but they're terrible. The Rams' offensive line is terrible. And the 49ers, they lost. That vaunted defense who'd been so good almost let up a 50-piece. It was they allowed like 42 for the Chiefs this week. So, like, at the end of the day, that's a kind of a questionable interior of the offensive line with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, and the defense maybe isn't as vaunted as it seemed the first couple of weeks. So, yeah, why not the Seahawks, man? And
the only thing
Pete Carroll
DK did get hurt today. I don't know how long he's supposed to be out for, but
he got on the cart, and I'm pretty sure when I saw the clip of that, I read his lips, and I'm pretty sure he said, "I'm all right." Yeah. I'm not deaf.
He's got to be good.
Lips.
POV me when I break my collarbone. I'm all right.
I think that he's going to... You heard it here first. Even though he got carted off, I think this is another fraudulent DK Metcalf cart off, like when he had to go to the restroom a couple weeks ago.
X-rays were negative, they say.
And I'm looking at it now. Initial X-rays... Initial X-rays negative on Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf. I'm pretty sure that I read his lips correctly when he said, "I'm all right." Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he said, but I'm no expert.
Hey, all I'm saying is it's like,
bad. It didn't look bad at all.
No.
The only hard teams, like the only really tough opponents this Seahawks team is going to play are the Chiefs and like the Niners again. Like, that's it. That's really it. Like, they play the Raiders. Ooh, they play the Bucks. Ooh, like I'm not scared of any of these teams if I'm the Seahawks right now.
It's a weird league right now. It's a weird league.
The NFL's a weird place to be.
If you watch football, you need Fubo TV. Fubo TV gives you complete coverage of college and pro football with NFL Red Zone Plus games in 4K at no extra charge. Over 100 channels of live sports and entertainment for a fraction of the price of cable. Watch on all your devices and never miss a game or an episode of your favorite shows with the included cloud-based DVR. Plus, there's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. Right now, you can try Fubo TV free for 7 days and get 15% off your first month. Just go to FuboTV.com/stayhot. That's FUBOTV.com/stayhot.
Should we talk about the Ravens and Browns?
Sure.
Suppose we have to.
It
was one of the close games.
What do we think the Ravens' ceiling is right now? Because, and part of it, the Browns' defense did just look better today. I thought they were better tackling. They blitzed in more opportune scenarios, but the Ravens also just didn't look very good.
Ravens' offensive line stunk today. However, the Browns' secondary stinks even worse. Grant Delpit's very bad.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Can't cover. He can tackle, but he cannot cover to save his life.
But I mean, the Ravens' offensive line was just getting bullied. There was a couple possessions where it was just sack, pressure, sack, and stuff like that. So I think that's my biggest concern with them is like, they're supposed to be this hard-nosed running team, and they already kind of have problems with, the Greg Roman passing plays and all that stuff that's get talked about all the time. And it's funny that people talk about the Ravens and they're like, they need a receiver. It's like Elijah Moore is not fixing this team, man. In fact, here's the thing. Their weapons are fine. It would be stupid for the Ravens to invest in another pass catcher. It's like Mark Andrews and Bateman and Duvernay is good enough for a team that doesn't like to pass. But ultimately, especially with Dobbins out, it's just the running game is just going to get killed a little bit, and it's hard for Lamar to drop back when he's getting pressured like that. Now, I know the Browns have, I think Clowney and Garrett is a pretty good pass rushing duo, but I just don't know if the offensive line talent is there for a team that really wants to run at you and has not had, super elite passing coordinating so far.
Yeah, Lamar only completed 9 passes today. That's not very many passes. Mark Andrews was largely taken away in this one.
Not a lot.
Only 4.9
I think he had 0 yards.
Per
I think
pass.
He did. Yeah,
largely
Jeremiah
he didn't do
Owusu-Koramoah locked him up, I fear.
And that's been true these past couple of weeks, is like the passing attack has kind of stagnated a little bit, and they haven't been winning through the air quite as much now. Now, they did have 160 rushing yards, and I do think that for all the shit you can talk about Greg Roman, he does do some interesting things on the ground. There was the play where Mark Andrews tossed it to Lamar Jackson, and a lot of times they'll motion that tight end right behind the center, and then QB sneak it, and they kind of played off of that by putting Mark Andrews behind center, and then giving the toss to Lamar Jackson, who of course is super dangerous in the open field. So like, I thought that was a decent play. And I always think that they do some interesting things. Like Greg Roman can design a rushing game. I don't think that can be disputed. But as far as the passing attack, I just think that Lamar is asked to carry a little bit too much. I really think that it's all him. And he's made some mistakes, especially at the ends of games recently, closing. His footwork is always going to be a little wonky because he's on the move just so often and throwing from unsettled platforms so often. The ball isn't always beautiful leaving his hands. It does wobble a bit. He's never going to be Tom Brady. He's never going to be Peyton Manning in terms of like precision as a passer, but he is an offense unto himself, and he can make an efficient running game just by himself. And he is not a bad passer. He knows what he's doing. So, like, I think I do think it's still kind of a one-man show with Lamar Jackson, as it has been over these past couple of years. And I think that can take you about as far as it has these past couple of years, which is like the wild card round, and then they get beat. And that's kind of what this team seems like this year too. Doesn't seem like a vastly improved Ravens team in any sort of aspect.
Yeah, I mean the Ravens offense did not do a lot today. The reason they won this game was because their special teams was out of this world. Their special, like, one of the best special teams performances I've seen in a while. Devin Duvernay returned a punt where the Browns were backed up inside their 10, and he ended up returning a punt back to inside their 25. The Browns were constantly having to kick kickoffs out of the end zone because they're not going to let Devin Duvernay try and return one on you. And then when the Browns had to try and kick a game-tying field goal, got blocked. That's really why they won this game.
Field goal decision. I do not agree with it. I don't.
I mean,
you do not kick the field goal there. It is 4th and 5. They're on the 40 or whatever, somewhere around there. 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes to go. You're kicking to tie the game. If you make this 61-yarder, if you make it, which is a very big ask for a special teams unit that had not been playing good and a rookie kicker, you tie it with 2 minutes to go, and you give the Ravens the ball back, only needing a field goal with a very good kicker with way too much time, and that would win the game.
Say that again.
No.
A what kicker?
And then with immediate, I mean, I'm not saying.
I thought you thought that Justin Tucker was ass and horrible, and he could never make a game.
you guys, look, we've talked about it a lot.
Stance?
Herbert slander, Jamar Chase, best receiver in the NFL. Tucker sucks. I'm just talking, but it's like, even if you stop the Ravens, then you go to overtime where you'll need to score a touchdown, or you'll give it back to the Ravens, or the Ravens will have it and they'll just need to score. It's like, you got to play like the underdog here a little bit. Go for it on 4th and 5. Try to run out the clock and get a score at the end of the game. They were moving the ball decently, and Amari Cooper kind of I didn't think it was offensive pass interference. He kind of got robbed of a touchdown. So I would have gone for it. I would have been more aggressive.
Here's my one caveat, right? It's like, the offense was moving okay. The offense really wasn't moving that well. The offense was actually pretty bad, with the exception of a handful of big plays. And then there was the first drive of the game was really good. The first Browns offensive drive was great. And then they had the Amari Cooper big play, the Donovan Peoples-Jones big play, and then the Amari Cooper touchdown that was called back. Outside of that, very little Browns offensive production.
So then what is your path to winning?
You have to make the field goal
and
then get a stop. And then get a stop, because the Browns defense had been getting stops.
And then what?
Make another field goal.
Score. You have to score a touchdown. You have to win the game.
You kick another field goal. You get a stop.
So the game plan for them was to then stop the Ravens multiple times and kick a field goal, and that was easier than picking up the 4th and 5 and scoring right there. Yes. You're the underdog. You got to play like it. They should have gone for that. I wonder if the analytics backs me up on that.
I'm sure it does. I'm absolutely sure it does, because it always does when it comes to going for it on 4th down. But
go for it.
Find that Twitter account.
Brandon Staley would have gone for it.
He would have. But I agree, Matt. Like, when they were lining up for that 61-yard field goal after the false start, it was like, Cade York isn't putting this through the uprights. I'm sorry. Like, this is a 61-yard field goal,
and they're not converting that on 4th and
61 yards is really long.
I know it's far. But
this isn't
Jacoby
Madden
Brissett is not converting that 4th and 10.
It's easier for a quarterback to hit. Was it 4th and 10 or was it 4th and 5?
It was 4th and 5. They lined up for the field goal, false start. So if they had decided they decided not to go for the 4th and 5, which was a mistake.
Yes.
I don't even think we're converting the 4th and 5. Jacoby Brissett in late game is just like interceptions. It's just,
okay. Well, we also know I also think you're not converting the 61-yard field goal. This is the other thing you're not thinking of. The odds of you even making the field goal are terrible. We're not debating a 35-yarder. This was not a gimme field goal. They went for a long shot field goal to tie it and then need multiple stops because they didn't trust the offense that much. Well, too bad. Yeah. Well, then but if they had only needed one stop, they would have needed to score a touchdown. So, I mean, but you're saying it's just impossible to expect them to. Bad decision by Stefanski. And Stefanski does not really impress me that much, honestly.
Fair.
That was a terrible decision. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense.
I think the offense stinks. The offense
then
is
you
not
can't
good.
win.
Yes.
If the offense
stinks like that.
So actually it was a good decision because they were going to lose no matter what. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's not that you're going to lose no matter what, but the offense was not playing well that game. The defense was. I'm going to say, okay, let's kick a field goal. Trust our defense to get a stop because it keeps getting stops. Like that's where I'm at. Like, the Ravens weren't moving the football. They were scoring off of special teams errors on the Browns. That's where all their points were coming from.
The recommendation from the analytics perspective and the win percentage was a strong go for it. And when it was 4th and 5, it was very strong. It was the percent. Look, the success rate of a long field goal like that versus the success rate of a 4th and 5, even with Jacoby Brissett, and again, if you kick the field goal, and I'm sick of this 4th down discourse, it is better to be aggressive most of the time. Like when Staley went for it, Like when it's 4th and 2 and they were on their old side of the field, like then I would kind of raise an eyebrow. But even then I was like, okay, at the end of the day, it was only just 2 yards. But if you get it on the 4th and 5, you have a chance to go down the field and score. Even if you kicked this field goal, you weren't winning shit. All right. It would have tied the game, right? You would have still needed to drive. If the offense wasn't good, like they would have needed to drive the whole length of the field at some point. So yeah, I agree with Matt here and I tend to agree as much of a problem as I have with some analytics takes sometimes. They're right about being aggressive on 4th down most of the time. Like it is generally, it's generally a good move. So yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a mistake at the end, but yeah, we'll see. Again, this question started out with how do we feel about the Ravens ceiling? And at the end of the day, it's like field goal or not. The fact that it came down to that at the end makes me think that this is like, it's a team that can make the playoffs. But is it a team that's going to get like way farther than these previous iterations of the Ravens? I don't think so.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But God, it really does feel everyone is bad, but like 3 teams. And there's some tier 2 teams I feel pretty decent about. Like the Cowboys aren't tier 1, but they're pretty good. They're still pretty good. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy world.
It's a crazy world
we live in.
Yes.
Can't believe the Browns are bad again. Absolutely ridiculous world we live in.
Michael Myers sure is scary, but the last thing you need is to be hairy this Halloween. Luckily, our friends at Manscaped launched their 4th generation performance package to make sure your pumpkins get the ultimate carving experience on this spooky day. Turn your bite-sized treat into a king-sized candy and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT. Make the right call this spooky season. It's trick or trim. Have you ever tried to trim your balls and it turned into a Freddy Krueger film? Well, luckily, Manscaped is here to save the day and make sure you're feeling your best in your costume. Unlock your confidence with the Performance Package 4.0. Inside, you'll find the holy grail of men's grooming items. They've made it easy for you to upgrade your grooming routine. It's a full moon out, and the werewolf in your pants is howling. It's time to tackle that problem with the Lawnmower 4.0. Their finely tuned pube products feature a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is easily the greatest ball trimmer on the planet. Oh, did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? This trimmer is a shower essential. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker, a total game changer to your men's hygiene arsenal. The Weed Whacker is a nose and ear hair trimmer that provides proprietary skin-safe technology that helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. Say trick or treat to your beautiful new Halloweeny with Manscaped.
Any other games you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Raiders? The Raiders?
I didn't watch much of that one. I was paying attention to the 49ers game and the Chargers game. So,
you don't want to talk about Josh Jacobs and another masterclass 3-touchdown performance.
He's a good player, man. He's a good player. That's all I got to say. I do think that this
dude's trying to get his bag.
I do think that this Raiders team is better than their record suggests from a talent perspective, and it doesn't surprise me that they won this game at all. But it's not one that I watched and have serious takes about. Come back on Tuesday after I check out the film and watch, go back and rewatch some of these games, and then I'll be able to say more about it. Do you have any takes on it outside of Josh Jacobs? Do you have any takes on the Raiders? Do you have any hot takes?
I don't know if I have any hot takes.
I have no Raiders hot takes. I'm sorry.
Josh Jacobs is him. That's all.
Okay.
The Texans still stink, so that's really their run defense is just terrible.
Other games that happened today was Giants Jaguars was one more that I watched a decent amount of. I really thought the Jaguars did a decent job moving the ball up and down the field, and then they'd get into the red zone and things would totally bog down. And once again, you would see like they've made things so easy. I saw a stat today from Next Gen Stats where Daniel Jones's pass to Darius Slayton, which was a good pass, but Darius Slayton had some separation on that go route, and it wasn't like a completely improbable completion, but yet Next Gen Stats had that as the like most complex or most difficult Daniel Jones completion of the whole season. And I thought that did it like, not that I don't want to say that was like a nothing pass or anything, but for that to be like the most difficult pass that Daniel Jones has hit all season, I think said something about how they haven't done. Like Daniel Jones has been playing well, but it hasn't been crazy stuff. It hasn't been tight windows over and over again. It hasn't been him escaping pressure over and over again. Like they've done a really good job scheming and keeping things open for him. And that continued today. I know in the last episode, we talked a lot about the Giants. So I don't really want to go over them again. Yes, they're a good team. They're going to be there. And the Jaguars, like, I still think the Jaguars are what, 2-5 now. Like this, they're not making the playoffs. They're not winning this division as much as it looked like that through the first couple of weeks of the season. They have fallen off a little bit, and I would love to see a game where Trevor Lawrence wins a shootout. Even though I think he played well today, he still has not really done that. I think he's 1-19 when the defense gives up more than 11 points or something like that. Something crazy. It's
not great.
They just cannot win. And anytime the defense allows more than like double digit points, they lose the game. So I would love to see that from Trevor Lawrence, even though I think he played well today and he's played well in multiple games this season. Like I'd like to see them win a shootout. I'd like to see them improve in the red zone a little bit. We had another, I think Travis Etienne and fumble in the red zone. There was a bunch of those week 1 and just some general miscues in that area. They've got to clean that up. I do think they're flirting with being a good team. I'm not ready to give up on Trevor Lawrence or Doug Peterson or this team in general. I think they're flirting with being a good team, but they're not quite there yet. And I think that showed up again today, even though there is some promising stuff.
But in general, as it has been for the past couple of weeks, the NFC East continues to be the most dominant division in football, with the best team in the NFL, Philadelphia Eagles. You have probably another top 5 team in the Dallas Cowboys and another top 10 team in the New York Giants. So,
and Washington won today.
Washington won today.
Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm just saying they went on defeat.
Heineke played so bad. He played horrible today. Well, you guys didn't watch that game. He should have had like 5 turnovers in the first half. He had like 1 or maybe 2. It was crazy. There was a strip sack from Rashawn Gary that was called back because of a suspect illegal contact on field call. They should have had 2 pick sixes. There was a bunch of plays where, like, out of structure, he would throw it up while getting hit, and there would just be some dude wide open down the field or something, or it would get completed because Terry McLaurin would bail him out. Now, the touchdown down the field to Terry McLaurin was a great throw on Jair Alexander. That was a perfect throw. But outside of that, I was like, oh my God, they were just flirting with disaster.
The last first down to win, to end the game.
That was like a lot of what the whole game was. Yeah, it was just kind of like McLaurin was covered for much of that route, and he threw it up to him anyway, and he just caught it on the sideline towards the end. And that's what Carson Wentz is missing, man. Like I tweeted, like he's missing that. Fuck it, McLaurin is over there somewhere, Gene. Like if there's one thing that Heineke's going to do, he's going to throw it up to McLaurin no matter what.
Do it.
And it worked out in this game. There were a couple plays where I'm like, oh, here we go. There's pressure. McLaurin or Heineke's getting hit, and there would just be some like guy wide open down the field, 5 yards, and Quay Walker once again way out of position. Devondre Campbell had a pick six, but outside of that, I think struggled a little bit in this game. Lots of dropped picks, especially by Rasul Douglas, who could have had like 3 picks and a touchdown on the fumble return that all got either dropped or called back. Just a total mess in terms of penalties and drops and punts, and it was just slop ball that the Packers ended up. They can't win slop ball, I guess. So shout out Washington. I don't want to take away from their achievements. Their secondary played well. I think that they didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver outside of Allen Lazard until 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter when Toure from Nebraska had one. But outside of that, I don't think there was a crucial job by Romeo Doubs on a 4th and 1. There was a deep shot to Sammy Watkins, and Sammy Watkins just like quit. I don't know how else to describe it. He was like running down the field.
Sammy Watkins.
He was just like running down the field, and Rodgers released it, and then like Watkins like totally geared down and just started jogging, and he got interfered with on the play, but they deemed it uncatchable because it landed so far out in front of him. But it could have been deemed catchable if he like would have kept running, like it would have looked like a more accurate ball if he like didn't just like gear down and stop. Like I just don't know what the hell they're doing. So I'd like to see them make a move at the deadline for Elijah Moore. Will Fuller is still out there. Maybe Chase Claypool is available. I'd love to see that. But man, that was a tough watch. I mean, shout out Washington for doing enough to win the game, and shout out Terry McLaurin, who is an awesome receiver, and the running game.
Give him the game
once
ball.
again, like the running game killed the Packers, but man, they really kind of choked this one away.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at this heartwarming Taylor Heineke article. Every time he starts in a win, he gets a big bonus, and he says he uses it to buy a new pair of Jordans for himself, and they got the whole article, and it's very sweet. And he does it in the losing team's colorway. So he's going to have some. I'm looking at the quote now.
Yo.
Tomorrow I'll probably buy myself some green and yellow J's. That's fun. God bless him.
He was a Packers fan growing up, so he wears number 4 because of Brett Favre, which is kind of a questionable thing to say these days. But
yeah, not ideal. Not ideal.
What else? We've covered basically everything. Tennessee won today, but
I was about to say Tennessee,
New York,
probably going to win the AFC South. It looks like the Jags cannot seem to string together wins. The Colts suck.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The Titans aren't good either. I don't think the Titans are very good. Tannehill doesn't look any good at all. But they're 4-2.
Every time you look at Tennessee, it's not like anyone's putting up like crazy numbers. It's not like
it's just that they
like, oh my God, Robert Woods had 120 yards from Robert Woods today. I mean, Derrick Henry had a good game today. Don't get me wrong, but they just, as the Titans seem to do, they seem to scrape by every game in the regular season without looking like a real playoff threat. This has been the case for a long time with them now.
Here's what's going to happen. So they lost to the Giants and the Bills. They're on a 4-game winning streak right now against the Raiders, Colts, Commanders, and Colts again. Right, so they've already exhausted their free wins against the Colts, and they played Washington, who is no good. Then they play the Texans next week, who are no good. But then they play the Chiefs, and that I think that's a game where they
14-3 is what you're saying. Like, lose to the Chiefs. They can lose all the difficult games in the schedule and still win this division.
Maybe the Packers beat them. Who knows? Maybe the Packers get right and beat them.
They better
after the trade deadline, and you get a receiver. Then you can beat the Titans. The Bengals can beat the Titans. The Eagles will beat the Titans. Maybe the Chargers can get shit right and beat the Titans. The Cowboys can beat the Titans. So like there's hope for a team other than the Titans to win this division. But
what does that get? Where does that get you? None of these teams are doing anything in the playoffs.
It's like, what are you, 11-6 at that point? Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care about the Titans. Like, sorry, Titans fans. I don't care about
this
you
division
guys.
is pitiful. This division is sad.
It's another sad division, but yeah.
No one deserves to make.
Any NBA takes? That's where I'm at right now. That's after watching this week of football. Any NBA takes for anybody? The Sixers are 0-3. The Trailblazers are 3-0.
The Sixers are sad. The Sixers make me sad because like James Harden had a great first 2 games, and then the third game was just pitiful.
Matt, you got anything you want to say about the National Basketball Association before we close this thing out?
We're 3 games into the season. Be very careful about overreacting to NBA stuff. The sample size of 3 games, particularly for basketball, is just so small that I think drawing any conclusions is probably tough. Mathurin looks really good for the Pacers. They're exciting. and the Lakers look really bad. The Lakers are a disaster, and their schedule is brutal. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, because they are so bad that it is very hard to justify that Pacers trade that pushes the future even farther back. And we'll see. We'll see with them and what it's doing for the Pelicans if they get Wembanyama and they have Zion and Wembanyama. Oh my God, because they got that pick unprotected. So I don't know.
I have one more thing. All right. They're 0-3 right now. They're about to be 0-3 after tonight. But De'Aaron Fox, balling. Yeah, he's him. Yeah. And if they didn't have to have the awful first 3 game stretch of Portland, Clippers, Warriors, I think people would feel a little bit differently about the Kings right now.
Yeah, maybe. My take is that Paolo Banchero has looked amazing, and I think that'll translate. Like, I know it's only been 3 games, and he could hit a rookie wall, but that's been good to see. The Devin Vassell agenda has been thriving.
Yes,
and yes, he kind of beat the Sixers, like that first half against the Sixers. I didn't watch that game live, I'll admit, but going back and watching the highlights of him on that game, I'm really excited about how that take is going to age. I love that guy. And Charlotte won tonight. Charlotte's offense is looking about
Charlotte. I have one really good Charlotte surprise that I think a lot of people will be happy with.
Okay.
Dennis Smith Jr. has been playing fantastic. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy was unsigned up until a couple weeks before the season, and he has been really solid. And this is a guy who I feel like a lot of people are cheering for. Defensively locked in. Clifford has him playing a lot better. Defensively locked in, been hitting his shots. I think he could be a role player in the NBA for a long time. And he had 18 tonight. No Terry, no LaMelo, and they won convincingly against the Hawks. That's pretty strong. So they're fighting. They might not be that good, but they're trying so hard.
Yeah. That's not the Kelly Oubre praise I was looking for.
Do you want some Kelly Oubre praise?
I do.
He has been fantastic too.
He has been.
Kelly Oubre has been such like, I mean, because he played for the Suns. He's like, I'm either hitting everything or I'm hitting nothing, and there's no in between. I mean, they're going to be like, reminds me of like J.R. Smith used to do.
He doesn't look to pass maybe as much as he should.
Well, he is a totally new man. The last 3 games, he has been like driving in all the time. And like taking guys off the dribble and like moving the ball well. I mean, he didn't have any assists today, but he had 24 and 10. So I was used to this Hornets team is just like jacking up threes as many as possible, go as fast as you can. And now they're playing a lot better basketball. And Kelly Oubre has been one of those guys where he's really stepped up and playing a lot better of a game because he's a talented player.
I like what I've seen from Jalen Green, I guess. That may be a takeaway from me so far. He hit a crazy against the Bucks the other night. He hit a crazy, like he crossed over Drew Holiday and then hit a crazy step back contested 3. There was and I think maybe the opening game, he had a block on Trae Young and then brought it back and hit a crazy dunk on the other end. Man, I've been excited about him and what he's done so far. Not that he's been like crazy different than the back half of last year, really last year in general. The Rockets aren't very good so far, but he's been someone who I've watched a decent amount of, and I'm excited about him. I don't know. DeAndre Ayton's been playing well. Devin Booker's been playing well for the Suns. They're up big on the Clippers right now. So that's my NBA report.
I don't have anything super solid to have a conversation about.
We'll talk about the NBA on the Tuesday live a little bit.
Yeah,
make sure to give everyone their fair dose of Sunday night football. We'll talk about Dolphins Steelers. I believe the Dolphins are up in that game right now.
They are. So we'll talk
about that game. We'll talk about the Monday night game. That's Patriots Bears, and we'll give you your fair dose of some NBA discussion as well. But I think that pretty much wraps things up for us. As always, tons and tons of content come away on all platforms. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.